I don't remember much from the time I was 8 years old. I was just in 3rd grade, young, gullible, carefree. But December 17th, 2012 will forever be ingrained in my memory. You see, just a few days prior, my mother, younger brother, twin sister, and I had flown from New Delhi, our home of 8 years in India, just 3 hours south to my grandparents' home city of Chennai. A day later, we sat together in my grandparents' room, poking fun at one another, listening to stories, just like we always did. It was only when my mom received a notification on her phone, however, did she ask for the news to be put on TV. A bold red and yellow headline was the first thing that caught my eye. Translated from Hindi, it read something along the lines of brutal gang rape in nation's capital, while the photos of 6 men took center stage. The second thing that caught my eye was my mother, who had been sitting next to me at the time. She looked down at me from the screen with a sense of worry, of concern, so unlike anything I'd ever seen before or seen since. It was a look of horror, of desperation, and it has stuck with me vividly almost 8 years later. Now, only a few days passed back home in Delhi when I came to understand what exactly had prompted my mom's unforgettable reaction. She had recognized one of the 6 men involved in the rape and, less than 2 weeks later, the murder of 23-year-old physiotherapy intern Jyoti Singh, who the public later named Nirbhaya, Fearless One. One of the 6 men convicted, Pavan Gupta, was our family fruit seller. It had been only a week since my mom picked up fruits from his public stall did his face appear on headlines around the world. Now, throughout my time living in India, I do not recall ever walking down a street in the day or night, or wearing shorts or pants when, with arm by my side, were shorter than my knees. I do not recall spending the night at a friend's house who had a brother, younger or older, riding any mode of public transportation, or being alone with a man, indoors or out, who had no relation to me. Now, as a young girl who had yet to reach middle school, I'd been taught to remove myself from potentially exploitative situations. Mind you, I still trampled over cones during soccer practice like Hulk, adored the cheddar-filled world of Geronimo Stilton, and loved to do nothing more than sit with a ripe mango between my fingers as orange pulp dripped from my tousled hair and chubby cheeks. But at the same time, I've been taught to scream, but not panic, to not let anyone touch me here, or here. Stay in public, in a crowd, at all times. This is not a choice, but a routine, a necessity in the watchful eyes of my loved ones. It is unfair to ask, however, men must do the same. Now, 1 in 3. This is the statistic the World Health Organization estimates is the number of women worldwide who have experienced physical or sexual violence in their lifetimes. 1 in 3 mothers, daughters, wives, and friends. 1 in 3 women whose rights and liberties have been unwillingly stripped, overwhelmingly, by guardians, partners, and protectors. Trust and loyalty obliterated in a matter of seconds. Trust me when I tell you from personal experience that there is no feeling quite like that of looking up to someone you loved or thought you loved, only to have that perfect image shattered in an instant. I ask that you think of just 3 young girls or women in your life. Then 1 in 3. Don't tell me these words, these numbers don't matter to you or to me. Now, if sexual assault may still seem distant or impersonal, then I understand. But I urge you to look 10 miles away. For on January 18th, 2015, 19-year-old Stanford University freshman Brock Turner sexually assaulted and raped Chanel Miller, a 22-year-old college graduate, while she was unconscious, less than 10 miles away, from less than 6 years ago. But the questions most frequently asked were not why or was he prosecuted, rather, what was she wearing? Was she drinking? Where was she and at what time? Who was she with? Now think about these questions. In a just world, perpetrators are brought to justice and victims are unrelentingly supported. In an unjust world, however, victims are considered their very own perpetrators. And so I ask you, what reality do we live in today? Well, every 73 seconds, a man or woman in the United States is sexually assaulted. It makes me cringe. It makes me angry. And it makes me fearful for the world our children and loved ones will learn to grow up in. We live in a world today where men fear to speak of experiences with sexual assault in the fear of emasculation, of being viewed as weak or unmanly in the eyes of a patriarchal society, where women fear, in speaking against assault, of being blamed as a victim, ostracized by her community, or even facing the risk of death. With every young girl who learns to grow up that she must always be silenced, and with every young boy who learns that he must always be tough and never vulnerable. Now, respect is not upheld when a woman walks down a street, not in fear. And when, well, love, as we all know, is a 4-letter word. Life is another one. Not often said aloud, however, rape. Sexual assault may be viewed as a term that is softer in impact, less detrimental, not one that can silence a room or cause a heart to skip a beat. But no words can ever overshadow pain or reality. This reality exists in stark contrast to the hope and freedom we proclaim so profusely, united, but we cannot hold hands with victims and survivors. We hear you, but no narrative can come through when we don't care to see you. Now, Jackson Katz, a social researcher, once asked men what they do on a daily basis to avoid being sexually assaulted. Nothing, they replied. I don't think about it. And then he asked women, don't go jogging at night, always carry a cell phone, be careful not to drink too much, watch what I wear, own a firearm. The responses went on, and they went on. Women are essentially taught how not to get raped, as opposed to men being taught not to rape. Sexual assault is prevalent, but even more prevalent is the very fear of it taking place. I call home a country of incredible culture. People who cannot resist stuffing their face with food as a sign of affection, loud and lavish traditions, and where the sport of cricket is considered God. No joke. But I also call home the most dangerous country in the world for women of all ages and of all ethnicities. It is my hope that no parent shall have to look at their child the way my mother looked at me as a news headline flashed across the screen that summer day, shaking an entire nation. What if we could live in, not just imagine, a world where our mothers, daughters, sisters could walk down a street not in fear, but in certainty? We do not need another name, another victim, another hashtag. Our young girls and women have always been our past, they are our present, and they will forever be our future. It is no longer enough to say no more.